Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Wild Earth this afternoon, and it is such a beautiful day this afternoon. It is very hot here at Djuma Game Reserve in South Africa. My name's Tara, welcome on board Wendy this afternoon. On camera we have Brian and of course the thumb. And the thumb isn't necessarily going to pop up just now, it'll be somewhere during the drive, so keep a watch out for him, see if you can get a screenshot of him. And back in final control we have Andrew. And if you would like to send through any questions this afternoon, send them through to questions@WildEarthTV or #SafariLive. So we're going to head up towards Gallego Shortcut. We're just sitting on the edge of quarantine at the moment on the western side, so we'll see what we come across as we head up that way. So let's jump aboard and see what we can find this afternoon for you. That might be better. Just see if I can pull alongside it and see who can come through with the correct answer for the whodunit this morning. I'm hoping I didn't drive over it. Oh dear, maybe I did. Oh, my back tyre must have just caught it after I saw it. That's not cool. Yeah, I think I must have just clipped it with my tyre. Oh, that's a shame. I'll have to try and find you another one then. Oh, no, there it is. There it is.
People have to be quick to catch the thumb.
Okay, it's just blending in very well with the tyre track, but it's just here. Can you see it? I think it might be a little bit close yet. I just need to back up again now that I've found it. Okay. No, you're too far up. You need to follow that trail down, and then you should get it. A little bit more. There it is, just in the corner of the screen now. So it is there. So I did clip it a little bit, unfortunately, but you can see 1, 2, 3 toes and a pad here. So if you think you can identify who it might belong to, then send your answers through questions@WildEarth.tv and put in the subject line what your answer is. I'm going to show you in my book as well. Oh nice! If people want to have a look at a fish eagle, there is one sitting at the water hole at the moment on the camera. See if I can actually hide everything. A very well placed hat as well. There you go. So this is what we're actually seeing on the ground. So we were actually seeing that part of the track, 3 toes and the pad. And you can actually tell if it's left or right as well. You take the longest toe and you match it up with your middle finger on your hand, and you count how many toes at either side. So it's like this here, this is the longest toe, so there's 2 toes to the right and 1 toe to the left. So I match it up with my right hand. I've got 1 finger to the right, you take out the thumb, 1 finger to the left, sorry, and 2 fingers to the right, so it is right, the right side, the right foot. So what animal is this? If you're new to this game, try and think of what you might have back home that might be very similar to this particular animal. Does it eat meat? Does it eat vegetation? And while you guys are pondering, let's head on. Size-wise, you're looking about that sort of size. Something like that. And I'm hoping maybe we'll find some more heading this way. Sometime after the rain this morning. So you can also send your answers through on hashtag Safari Live. Hashtag Safari Live to the Twitter account. This afternoon. We also found where the other hyena den was. It looked like somebody has been living there, so we're going to head back there this afternoon. It's just off of Weaver's Nest. I did find the 2-track leading to it, so I am quite keen to head there if we're able to when it cools off a little bit, just to see who might be around. Although we did have a couple of warthogs running away from that area, so it could have been warthogs using it. But I think it's just worth another checking up, just to see if little Untumbella and her mother isn't there. Hoping to have a few more dung questions for you, but there's been a severe lack of dung around here. The animals are being too polite and going in the bush rather than on the road. It's not cool. I'm just going to go a little bit down here just to make sure we don't have any tracks crossing along here, and then we'll head north. Because there's a few drainage lines that we could try. Technical issues, we had a bit of a power outage, and I think it is something to do with the load shedding across the country. Hello. Had kitty cat crossing the road here as well. If you can see, yeah, just here. Crossing right across down towards where we stay. Where do you go from there? Yeah, he does. He walks straight down this game trail that leads just to where we stay. And it comes back out. So maybe he did some scent marking, then came back out here. Walked right up the road. Sometime just after the rains, can you believe it? Can you believe it? Oh no, I tell I. Sometime just, it must have been that last little spot. I can see a few specks in the rain. The track we had up there was sometime after. So this was just before that last. So maybe it was a leopard that they were seeing this morning. So I'm hoping we had some answers, some correct answers for my track earlier. It was a leopard track, so I wonder how many of you got it right. Got the female herd of impala here. No more tracks from the leopard. But But they were pretty adamant they saw something, but as I say, we were struggling to see what it was that they were looking at, and then the rain actually came in, so we couldn't follow it up, and when I did go down there, I couldn't see anything. As I say, I've just picked up that one track now, so I think the cat must have moved after we were there. We did drive up that road to have a look. But you can see they're pretty relaxed now. Obviously happy there's nothing else in the area. So this cat might actually pop out somewhere around here. I think Gallego is maybe a good possibility, and then I think Mvubu Road, and then we'll go to that little pan just behind the lodge, I think. But I'm not sure how to get to it from this side. So unless I see a little 2-track, I'll see if I can try and follow that. Because it is supposed to come out somewhere around Gallego shortcut, so if I can find it, I'll go down that first. Because there is a nice deep drainage line that side. So we'll leave the impala for now. As much as I do enjoy watching impala, especially when they've got lots of little babies. I'm just trying to think when I heard, did I hear an alarm call this morning? Been hearing squirrels kicking off quite a bit. But that was yesterday, and it could well have been that those were left around yesterday, but it had the advantage of sitting in a marula tree. But it was pretty adamant it saw something. It was very upset. Laura, Joe, Mike, and Chris. They were the first ones with the correct answer. Well done, guys. And great to hear you got the correct answer. I'm proud of you. Maybe I should start bringing in if it's left and right. So you can also tell if it's a front or back foot by the shape of the foot. Remember, the front of the animal, there's a lot of weight. So they have a circular front foot and an oval back foot, because they don't carry as much weight on the back end. So not much else this side. Oh, there's a squirrel. Just up ahead in shadow. So some of you might be wondering what squirrel I was talking about. This is the tree squirrels. Oh! One of them's found a marula nut and the other one wanted it. Nope, can't have it. So it's these little guys, and say they can chirp very loudly to let you know there's something around. And I must admit, I've missed these guys. We don't get them round my way, even though we're only about a 3-hour drive. But they're usually quite handy. So they are pretty small, so they can be open to any predators. And especially they are taking risks coming out into the road like this, so if there's any birds of prey above, they can easily swoop down and catch them. And if there is a predator around here, same story if it's not keeping a lookout. Sorry, who was that question from? Casey. Casey in New York. Good afternoon to you, Casey. Welcome on board this beautiful South African afternoon. It is so wonderful to see the sun again. Casey would like to know, can animals tell the difference between human females and males? and I would say a lot of them can. Just because we do give off different chemicals. And obviously the testosterone in the males and the progesterone and estrogen in females, it's the same. Oh, somebody wanted to see this track. You may have seen me show it in a book, but I think this could be your next Who Done It, because we don't tend to see this track very often. I know somebody was asking to see it the other day. There we go, this one here. This is quite a wide animal with very short legs. You can see the holes very close together, but there's two sides to it. So again, this is your second question for this afternoon of Who Done It. Remember, this is anything to do with tracks and signs. So who made this track? You don't need to tell me the species, but if you can give it a go. But what type of animal made this track? And if I show you how wide it is, we're looking about that sort of width. So that sort of width. So it's about 10, 12 centimeters wide, something like that. I think as wide as the book. There you go. That's a bit better reference for you. So it's as wide as that. Questions at WildEarthTV. Subject line: what animal it is. Hashtag Safari Live. Who done it? Probably the first time I've actually ever seen it registering nicely like that. I'd love to see the owner of our other Who Done It. My eyes peeled. We've got eagle eye on the back. I think this could be where the tube track comes out. Let's give it a go. So if we can get this drainage line, that would be great. Raisa, Larry and Jewel, well done. Very quick off the mark there, and correct answer. Handle as well. Well done to you all. Wow, I'm impressed. That was really quick. It was the tortoise, and by the looks of the width of it, I say the leopard tortoise, and we're looking for its namesake. All the leopards today so far with the tracks. Let's see if we can back it up with the animals. And back it head into the bush. It's actually heading towards. Ah, and Gary even guessed leopard tortoise. Well done. Oh, Larry, sorry, Gary. Thinking that was an extra name. Well done, Larry. So you get a gold star for that one. This is a complete new road for me. No idea where it goes. It looks like it's winding slowly towards Voyatella Lodge, and it pops. I know it does pop out towards the. So we went down the other side of it, and that's where we see Kula, our resident female leopard, playing around with the cubs on decks at Voyatella. And she used to use that drainage line a lot. But yeah, so one animal that really is quite amazing when it comes to noticing the difference between male and females is baboons. And female, or baboon society, the females are very low ranking. Males are high ranking, and even the lowest ranking male can be higher than the highest ranking female. Higher than the highest ranking female. wait until we get a slightly better signal, just so we're not jumping around too much. Oh, I'm liking this road for leopard owl a lot. It's nice and cool here. So I think we're slightly better. So baboons, as I say, they can tell the difference, and men have obviously very low voices, and when the male baboons call, they also have very low voices, like, and it's whoever can shout the loudest is the more dominant. And if they come to the houses and if people have fed the baboons, that's where they tend to get lose their fear of humans quite a lot, and then they start getting very sure of themselves and very confident, and they'll start breaking into houses. But if the males are around and they shout at them, then the baboons will run off. But if a female shouts, it's very difficult for a woman to actually chase off a baboon, because they don't recognise females as being dominant. So what you have to do, you have to lower your voice, and you almost have to have, sort of that air of confidence about you. And I've got a troop of baboon who keep pushing to come into my camp, and it was quite amusing because I do shout at them and I do bark at them to keep them out of my camp. And apparently I went out of camp and I left my intern there. And he's a tall lad, he's got a very deep voice as well. But as soon as I left that camp, the baboons came in, and he said he battled to chase them out. But it was funny because they were waiting for me to leave, so they obviously recognised me as being dominant there. So I obviously did something right, but quite amazing. But as I say, I dropped my voice and bark at them and shout at them to make sure that they know that this is my territory, not theirs. And they've even gone as far as men actually standing in dresses. They have tested it out, and the baboons didn't recognise them as being male. They recognised the clothing at that point, until they started shouting. Then they were like, uh-oh, we made a mistake. But Lynn, welcome on board, Lynn, from Michigan, and good afternoon to you. Welcome to Djuma Game Reserve this wonderful afternoon. And Lynn would like to know, can elephants and lions and leopards sense fear in people? And yes, they can. Any animal can sense fear. If ever you've been horse riding, the people who are petrified, sitting there rigid on top of the horse, you know that horse is going to play about, because the horse knows that they're scared, unless you have a horse that's very easygoing and doesn't mind. That's when they usually say, oh, we'll put you on a beginner horse, because they're used to that. But if you have a horse that's going to take advantage of that, you better watch out. But even lions and elephants, they can also sense fear. So you've got to have the respect, but also confidence. And I think even humans, I know there was a lady who was saying that she didn't really rate female guides until she saw the elephant encounter today, and she said she actually has changed her mind and maybe she's been a bit harsh for female guides, but she's not alone. And that's one thing about being a female guide, especially in the first couple of years in the Waterberg. You know, you had to prove to your guests daily when your guests first meet you and they look you up and down and go, okay, English chick, what are you going to teach us about the bush, and are you going to keep us safe? You know, you could see it every time going through their heads. So you had to prove yourself constantly as a female guide, both to your colleagues and to your guests. Whereas it is a male-dominated job, and immediately, even myself, immediately, you see a guy, and I think that's where the military side of things comes from. Your guide does dress how I'm dressed, and the boots usually polished, and it does have a military background. And I think it's to instill that confidence in your guide, because at the end of the day, the people who are on your vehicle, their lives are in your hands. And if something goes wrong, you can be held accountable for it. And I always remember my instructor saying that. Do you think you can actually keep the people on your vehicle safe? Because if you can't, you need to get out now, because this is not the job for you. And it always stuck with me, and it was very true. You've got potentially 11 people on board with you, including yourself, and you've got to keep them safe. And I say you have to instill that confidence right from word go, otherwise people will be kind of sitting there. And especially when you've got a very intense sighting like we had this morning, people have to listen to what you're telling them, because if they don't, then it could go wrong very quickly. And you might have heard, I think Andrew just moved slightly because the elephant was around the back of the vehicle, and I said to him, don't move. And he did, even though, you know, that elephant was pretty close, he did as I asked. And that's exactly what happens with your guests as well. If they stand up, you have to have that confidence to be able to say, sit down, because they could potentially put people's lives at risk. And that is one of the rules, the golden rules, especially in the Big Five area. Under no circumstances do you stand up when there is an animal around, because that could trigger a charge, because they get used to seeing the outline of the vehicle on a daily basis, especially in an area like Sabi Sands. You know, these funny creatures come around and make funny noises. And you can see the animals have gotten used to that. But if you stand up, it's something very different. Now, the eyesight of the lions and the leopards is extremely good. So it's a bit of a myth when they say, you know, they just see the outline. That's not the case. They do see the people, but they get used to that outline. And if you stand up, it breaks it. And we've seen it with Karula. She had a kill, and I think she was giving the warning sign. She was looking a bit unhappy, and the vehicle pulled in, and the guest stood up, and she immediately charged. And the guide obviously said, sit down. He realised that someone had stood up. He said, sit down. And she stopped to charge probably about 3 or 4 meters from the vehicle. I mean, she was fairly close anyway. But the guest was obviously very white. And they left fairly quickly after that. But as I say, it's one of those things you say to your guests, and you give them a safety briefing, and that's one of the things. But guaranteed, sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other. And I've had to tell my guests on a couple of occasions to sit down. And a lion actually told me one day, somebody stood up, and she was renowned for being a difficult lioness. And when I first met her, actually, she was in a little bit of a bad mood, and she was a little bit grumpy, and you could see the tail go. So I backed off, and she settled down. And I did say to another guide, you know, just be careful, she's in a bad mood. But, you know, I was a new guide, what did I know? And he came storming in, and she charged him. She ignored us flat. She charged him, his guess went white, he left, and then she went back to sleep. She actually left us to our own devices. And from that day, I never had a problem with her. But she was walking along, and we'd seen some of the other pride, and she was just walking along, and she was quite happy, and then all of a sudden she just looked to the back row of my vehicle, and she actually charged, and it was the first time she'd ever charged. And I did shout, and that was the first time I had to shout as well. I said, "Hey!" And she stopped. I mean, it was a warning charge. She wasn't going to follow through, but that was probably towards the end of when I was guiding in the Waterberg. So that was about 3.5 years. That was the first time she charged the vehicle. And I turned around and said, "Who stood up?" Everyone pointed to one person. But she told me somebody stood up. She wasn't happy that day. And as I say, we actually did keep our distance. She was just a bit grumpy. So if you do go on safari, make sure you stay seated. Okay, so we are on a Mvubu road, no more tracks. I really thought we might get lucky with the leopard being around there. Maybe we'll go up to Tamporti Dam. It's just at the end of this road here, and it is quite a nice little dam. I think the leopard might still be in this block here. Maybe it'll come out a little bit later. So maybe it was that cat that the impala saw. Let's just have a look down here. We'll go through the dip and just see if there's any activity in this drainage line here. Nobody lying down there. Okay, let's turn around. I've also had a wonderful sighting with that same lioness, and it's funny, you actually see these animals on a regular basis. I have no doubt they recognise individuals, and some people in the guide industry do agree with me. That's interesting. You shouldn't be breaking up too much now. It's funny how we weren't breaking up going that way, but we're breaking up going this way. But yeah, some people in the guiding industry agree with me that the animals that you see on a fairly regular basis, like the cats especially, do get to recognise individual people, and I think vehicles as well, because each vehicle does have its own sound. But then some people say, yeah, but if that was true, if you came across them on foot, they should still recognise you. But I still think on foot, it's a different scenario to when you're actually in the vehicle. For the same reason, as I was saying before, they get used to seeing the shape of a vehicle. And the animals that are used to seeing the game drive vehicles with people in, if they haven't seen this vehicle before, they do seem to take a second look, because again, we're slightly different. Obviously the camera person is out in the back there, Ooh, firefinch. Oh, come back. Oh, I have to keep another sharp eye out for another firefinch for you. But yeah, I think when people are walking, it's a different scenario again. But if they walk into the same animals, I think again they'll get used to seeing that. They'll get used to seeing that person in that way, you know, just on the two legs with people behind. But even rhinos, I think, are capable of actually recognising people. And the rhino I used to look after, I hadn't seen for about 6 years, and I went back and he was out in the field, and I called him, and his ears picked up, and he started walking towards me. I was like, no way, you actually recognise me. Now you might think, yeah, but anybody could call the name, and I tell you something, it was very difficult to build up a relationship, especially with that particular rhino. It took me a good year to build up his trust. And he was probably my favourite rhino, actually. But as I say, people could call him when they first started, and you'd be like, nah, he wouldn't even give you the time of day. But when you build up a relationship, my word, I used to sing to them as well, just to get them used to my voice, whether they liked it or not. But yeah, this lioness, I always remember, she'd been moving her cubs from place to place, and we thought she'd actually had the cubs, and someone saw them briefly. She was on the road, and she quickly moved them off the road. So we knew after that, okay, she definitely has a couple of cubs, but no one had seen them for a good couple of weeks again. And we were sat with the pride, with the male and the females, and the female got up. There was the same female that, as I say, she could be a little bit moody sometimes. And she got up and she walked off, and I said to my guests, okay, I think she might be going to see the cubs, maybe suckle them. But I said to them, look, I'm not going to follow her. You know, when she's ready, she'll show the cubs. And we sat there for a good 10-15 minutes. And it was starting to get to the point where I was going to say, look, shall we start moving on? And then all of a sudden we saw the female come back, and I was like, okay, cool. And she actually came out from behind the bush, and there with her were the two little cubs. And she was almost showing them off to us. It was absolutely incredible. And I think we were there when she introduced the cubs to the pride for the very first time, because the reaction of the other females, now usually when the females brought the cubs to a pride, before the females, you know, the ones that are closely related will obviously go and maybe make a fuss, but they don't tend to make much of a fuss. But every female got up and started walking towards her, and she actually told one of the females to back off. And I do remember that the female who we used to see her often with, and we think she may have been babysitting the cubs, and she was her daughter from a previous litter. And the cubs obviously knew her, and she went straight over and licked them and greeted them. But as I say, the other two females were at a distance, but they were still very interested. Even the male looked up and was quite interested in what was going on. But it was that reaction to that other female. She got told, don't you dare come near, which was very, very interesting to me. But what a privilege to be there on what I actually think was the first meeting, or if not at least one of the first meetings. And the woodlands kingfisher still chirping away. Jay, great to hear from you this afternoon. And welcome on board. MJ was asking about women and if animals get affected by the cycle that women go through. And I think occasionally they do. Again, because our hormones, our levels change. I have heard that kangaroos in captivity, females shouldn't work with them during that time of the month. But I worked with western greys, red kangaroos, wallabies, and I never experienced any change in their behaviour. But I have read of a female being attacked by a kangaroo, but it could be because there was no female kangaroos. That could have had something to do with it. I don't know if that was true, but I mean, we had a mixture of females and males, and they could just get on with life as they wanted to. So I think there was that release, whereas maybe that does have an impact. Okay, I'm actually going to turn around and just head back the other way. Oh, I think we're in the right area. This is frustrating now. Come on, kitty cat. Please show yourself. I think we are around the right area. Unless we go down, maybe let's go down Albury's Road to see if maybe went further afield. Or maybe we should do Gallego again. We didn't actually go all the way up Gallego. Ooh, look at that tree there. This little tree just to our left, it looks like a little black and white bird. Yeah, it is. And there's a couple of them, very, very normal to see. 2 or 3 of them, sometimes even 5, 6, 7 of them together. There you go, you can just about see that black and white. Oh, there goes one, there goes the other. And that black and white in the wings as they're flying is very characteristic. We are a little bit far away, unfortunately. But maybe if you guys want to have a go at trying to ID them, I'll show you a picture once the answers come through. So questions at WildEarthTV, #SafariLive, if you want to try and ID those birds. And quite often a cousin of theirs will join forces with them, and vice versa. I have seen mixed parties. Shame they just went a little bit too far. Okay, well let's carry on and maybe go down Gallego then. Hi, Kerry. Oh, Terry. Welcome on board this afternoon too. Good to hear from you. Terry would like to know about side-striped jackal and black-backed jackal. Is that my road leading down towards the Lego shortcut? Yes, it is. That's possibly why I missed it last time. It's very well hidden. Terry wanting to know a little bit about jackal. Do we get black-backed jackal and side-striped jackal here, which we do? What's their preferred habitat? And yeah, this is pretty much it. Savannas, and they actually adapt to most habitats. I do remember we didn't see them very often, but I do remember seeing side-stripes on occasion, and especially when there was a kill, you would see the black-backed jackals if there was a kill on the ground. They are a bit smaller than wild dog. It's not as large as wild dog. Side-striped and black-backed are roughly about the same size. Spore-wise, you can't tell the difference between the species. But the way you can tell the species apart if you see them, because sometimes the black-back does have quite a light stripe on its saddle, but the black-back does have this black and the chestnut brown on its legs and the body, so it does have that black saddle, and that you can see that tone very nicely, but occasionally it looks like it's got a white stripe, and the side stripe is a more continuous grey with the white stripe. But you look at the tail, and the tip of the tail is white on the side striped jackal, and the tip of the black-backed is black. So that's quite a nice way to tell the difference, just to make sure, especially because they are fairly nocturnal, although you can see them out during the day. Smaller than a medium dog. Just trying to think of what you'd be able to reference it against with the size. A bit bigger than a German Shepherd puppy when it's about 6 months old, I suppose. That might be about right. Actually not that big. There's a lot of stories that come from the different cultures here in South Africa, and in days gone by the stories would have been passed down from generation to generation to try and understand why an animal might look the way it does or act the way it does. And one of those stories that always stays with me was how jackal got its black back. And apparently all the animals have been complaining to the creator that jackal was not being very nice, and he was being quite sly. So the creator thought, no, I'll check this out and just see if the animals are telling the truth. So he decides, no, he's going to change himself into a little goat herder, and he sat under the tree waiting for the black-backed jackal. Oh, the jackal at the time, a bit of black-back then. So the jackal came along and the creator was crying, and the jackal came up to the creator, who was disguised as the little goat boy, and said, "What's wrong?" And the little goat boy replied, "I've lost my way home, I can't find my goats, I'm really upset, it's starting to get dark, and can you help me?" And Jackal was like, "Well, you know, I've got things to do, I've got to go and find some food." And the goat herder said, "No, I'll give you a goat. If you can get me home and help me find my herd, I'll give you a goat." So the jackal says, "Okay, cool, yeah, I'll help you out." So the goat herder sits on his back and he starts sniffing out where the goats are and starts heading back towards where the goats were. And as he's walking along, Jackal thinks, maybe I could get more than one goat. Maybe I could get the whole herd. And the creator read his mind. And all of a sudden, he appeared before Jackal in his awe and said, "You are a wicked creature. The other creatures were right. They told me about your wicked thoughts and I heard them." So he set alight to the Jackal. And Jackal ran off screaming. And he ran to the nearest waterhole and rolled around and tried to put the fire out. And he is forever shown to be a wicked creature, having the mark of the creator on his back. That's how the black-backed jackal came to be black-backed jackal. I think that was actually a shown story from people who were just further north in South Africa into not Botswana, into... It would be the Botswana, wouldn't it, Shona? Let's try to remember now. It's certainly just on the northern side of the country of South Africa. It could be Zimbabwe. How bad? I've got... Yeah, I think it is. I think it's Botswana, sure, people. And the NW people are in Zimbabwe. That's right. There we go. Ndebele being... a little bit better now. But yeah, the Ndebele people, it's a shoot off from the Zulu tribe. So they were found in southern part of Zimbabwe. Okay, so we've come back onto Galego shortcut. We took that road, which I don't think ever got a name. But that was here when I was last here. I think it's worth us checking out this area again later, but maybe let's down towards Charlestown. We'll see if there's any active in there. I'm sure it's a spot, but it's quite a big block, unfortunately. So we might have been flying up here somewhere. Just as we came towards the latter end of the Galego shortcut, but there's a little antelope just through the trees here. Oh, there's two. Oh, nice. You can just about make out the tail flicking. The one to the left of the trees. And the other one, when it put its head up, you should be able to see it through the trees. Little duikers, grey duikers. The largest duiker here in South Africa. The smallest antelope is the blue duiker. Tends to be found in the forest areas of South Africa. And the forest biome is found on the southern coast in very small pockets. The largest probably being about 1.5 kilometers squared. It's a very small biome and very fragmented. We're actually in the largest biome in South Africa, which is the savanna biome, and that actually covers about 2/3 of South Africa. Sorry, not 2/3, 1/3. Thinking, actually that's even bigger. 1/3 of South Africa. Do we have any answers for the bird? Rob, RC. And Raisa, well done. You got it right. Wow, I'm impressed, guys. And for those of you who are not sure what the bird was, it was a helmeted shrike. And if I can actually find... Here we go. Unfortunately you couldn't see the bright yellow eye, but this is the white-crested helmeted shrike. And as I say, it's very characteristic, that flight and seeing the black and white, and it even shows you in the book. That yellow eye and the grey head, very characteristic. And you also get the Rietz's helmeted shrike sometimes with them as well. And I've also seen Rietz's helmeted shrikes with 1 or 2 of the white-crested. They do mix, but as far as I know, they don't interbreed. So that is the helmeted shrike. So well done to everybody who got that right. Got a beautiful call as well. I'd love to be able to imitate it, but I've not got a chance imitating that one. Okay, well let's head down towards Treehouse Dam and see if we can get anything down that side. And as I say, we'll make another turn around here, maybe come around towards Gowrie Dam a little bit later when it cools off a little bit. But I'd love to just drive around and around in circles, but at the same time, it'd be nice to try and check out another area just in case there's somebody else moving. It's one of those. You can split yourself 3 ways, it would help. But then when you split yourself 3 ways, you want to split yourself 6 ways. But again, we're going to have to do quite a bit of legwork today. It sounds like we're the only drive out this afternoon. This side, there's a couple of other vehicles, but I think they're going north and east. So we'll head down Zoe's, down Rebecca's, or even maybe just stay on Zoe's and just cut across Philemon's cut line. We might just try that. Or maybe we can come in from the southern side of Treehouse Dam. I haven't done that for a little while. But keeping a very sharp eye out just in case somebody has made their way back here and the track's a bit driven over. But I was getting a very good vibe. I think we do need to try that little track that goes behind Voyatella Lodge again, through the drainage line. Hello. just so you guys know, we did see a giant African land snail this morning, and I was about right with my estimation of the size, about 15-20 centimetres in length. So maybe my brain wasn't as fuzzy as what I thought it was. Okay, well that's my third cat of the day. That wasn't a cat. Doing well, 3-0. Go me. How many are you on, Brian? Sorry, can you repeat that question, please? Hi, Lucy from Canada. Good afternoon to you. Welcome on board. I hope you're enjoying your morning coffee. Lucy would like to know, do we have any skunks here? And we don't. We don't have skunks, but we do have something that looks very similar to a skunk. But the skunks, I believe, have actually been separated into their own family, I think it is. It could be subfamily. The skunks actually fall under the same family as the badgers and the otters. They fall under what's called the mustelids. The wolverines are part of that family. Well, I think the skunks have been split off into the suborder. But we do have the striped polecat, and it essentially does look like a skunk. It's got the black and white markings on its body, and it does have strong anal secretion. Not as strong as the skunks, but it's still fairly strong. Hello, great hornbills. Where are you? That's the bird that you can hear whistling in the background. Well, I didn't think I could see you. Oh, there he is. There he flies. Typical dipping flight of a hornbill. There we go. There he lands. Awesome, there's 2 of them in the tree. That was very cool. Even zoomed in as well. Impressive. Just see if we can get a little bit closer. We might be able to see them a little bit better. Not as brightly coloured as their cousins, but they certainly make up for it with their voice. Ooh, there they go. Hornbills will eat anything they can get their beak around, whether it's fruit, seeds, insects, small rodents, lizards. We've even seen a yellow-billed hornbill eating a bat. It was ridiculously hot. It was 40 degrees plus, and the bats were struggling. I think just because it was so hot, I think it just made them go a little bit crazy. They were out during the day, there was 1 or 2 of them, and the hornbill managed to find this bat that tried to take shelter in a piece of wood. Yeah, it sat there eating it. I could not believe it. Welcome on board to you, George. George wanting to know if we had any updates on the Birmingham Pride or Birmingham Coalition. And I think we haven't heard anything, but I think it's because there hasn't been many guides out. It sounds like it's been a fairly quiet weekend. But the last we heard they were that side. But as I say, I haven't actually had a chance to ask anybody yet a little bit more about them, because I know a few people were asking if Blondie had joined them to make them 5 again. Ooh, that cloud cover is actually quite welcome. And the wind is starting to pick up a little bit as well. Still looking out for any potential new den sites for the hyenas. Ooh. See this track here. Can you see that one there, or am I too close? Yeah, there it is. Is it that one? I think you need to, sorry, yeah, a little bit further on. Now I'm confusing myself. There it is, there it is. You might just be able to see it through the grass there. Unfortunately, I wonder if we can get it along a little bit. Because it is actually, it was showing it really nicely, but it's just the odd angle that we're seeing. Do you think you might be able to get that one there instead, or am I just a bit too close for that one? Yeah, that one's probably better. So you might be able to see the deep groove here and the deep groove there. Now this is from a kudu, but you might just be able to make out that there's actually another part to this track. Can you see there's actually a ridge there? So this track has gone over the top of the front track, and that's what you're actually seeing. And you can see it's actually registered really well, so that where the front foot has gone, the back foot goes directly over the top, and that's known as registering. And animals that live in the thick bush, and especially cats as well, they'll do this to help reduce the sound that they make as they're moving through the bush. Because if you think about it, if they're moving through, you can see this bush is pretty thick, and as the animal walks, it's wanting to try and conceal itself as much as possible, because they actually do have this bush to help them with that. So as they walk through the bush, if they put their front foot down and they break a twig, if they put the back foot directly over the top, then they can't actually break the twig in the same place twice. So it actually helps them to move very quietly. And if you've got a pet cat at home and it actually... Ooh, there was a kingfisher just flying over. He wasn't too happy with something. But if you do have to watch your cat, there he is up in the tree, holding his wings out. But yeah, try and watch your cat next time, and when it stalks, and just watch it carefully, and it'll put its back foot where it puts its front foot. The woodlands kingfisher, and you can just about hear the Coqui Franklin in the background. Giddy, 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 giddy. Not the world's greatest impression. Hopefully it gives you an idea of which one you're listening out for. Now with the kudu as well, there we go. One more. Thank you. Very obliging. But with the kudu track, one of the tricks to know that it is kudu, apart from the fact that it registers, it's also widest around the middle of the track, whereas a lot of the antelope, it's the widest around the back of the track. So that's something just to bear in mind. So it kind of does that rather than that. Okay, I think, yeah, let's keep going down Zoe's. At this crossroads. And if you're just joining us this afternoon, welcome on board on Live Safari. Hoping we'll be able to catch up with a spotted cat later on. Keeping my fingers crossed. Ah, interesting question. I think that was from John. Sorry, can you confirm, was that John? Yeah, it was John. Welcome on board, John. John wanting to know, does South Africa have any mythical creatures? Well, I think any South African animal you can think of today, John, is pretty mythical at this stage. I'm just showing you the tracks at the moment and look to show you an animal. But unfortunately that is the way of the bush sometimes. Sometimes everything is happening and some days it's very quiet. But I'm hoping maybe we get lucky. So all we can do is just keep driving around looking for the tracks. I say I'm keen to go back to that area in a little while. Just see if we can't catch up with the owner of the tracks we found just a little bit earlier. Just to see if anything's happening down towards Treehouse Dam Way. But the Tokoloshi is the one that really springs to mind. And this little mythical creature is supposed to be about that tall. But he comes in the middle of the night and kills you. And that's why a lot of the people who still live in the rural areas will make sure their beds are at least raised a breeze block off the ground so the Tokoloshi can't get you. Maybe a little bit taller, maybe he's not this big, but I know he's very small. And the children get told if they don't behave, the Tokoloshi will come for them. But interestingly enough, there could be some truth to the myth. And especially in years gone by, if there was the people living in a communal hut and there was a fire smouldering just to keep them warm, and there was a lot of people, and if there was, you know, sort of coverings over windows and over the door, it is possible that carbon monoxide might have been building up. And obviously carbon monoxide is very dense and it sinks, and when people are sleeping it could be that they actually suffocated because of it, and that could be why the Tokoloshi actually came to life, so to speak. There could be some truth to that. Do you know of any other mythical creatures? That's the only one I know about. tend to get the Bigfoot or anything like that. But I suppose when people brought animals back or visited here in years gone by, they thought that there was a lot of mythical creatures here. Think about the giraffe when everyone first saw the giraffe. And apparently it was actually the giraffe that gave the French people the idea to have the wigs. You know that there was a certain time in the period in the French period where they would wear the hair as high as they could, and they'd have those huge wigs, and that was to celebrate the giraffe, apparently. I forget what era it was now, but it was about King Charles II's time. I'm not sure who would have been on the throne. I think it was around that era. There was actually a book written about the journey of the giraffe. Just going to move this branch out of the way. Zarafa, I think it was called. Zarafa? Oops. Hey, there we go. I might as well show you this. It's not a very nice tree. Ooh. Been waiting to hear that bird. That's the other chegra, the 3-street chegra. Actually, I'll grab my book. Let me show you. You might have just heard him. 374. There we go. So that bird you've just heard, hopefully, is the 3-street, or it's now known as the brown-crowned chegra. You don't tend to hear him, but you don't tend to see him, but you do hear him. But we've been hearing his cousin, the black-crowned, quite a bit. But yeah, the branch that I just pulled out the way is, I'm saying, not the nicest branch in the world. It is known as the buffalo thorn. And this is the branch I was just trying to take off to show you. And I got about 3 times because of it. You can see it's got quite a formidable weaponry. And it's got thorns. Oops. So I'll just put my ear back in. There we go. So yeah, so you can see it's got 1 straight thorn and 1 hooked thorn on each pair. And that's where it gets its Afrikaans name, Wachabikkie, wait a bit. And you have the shiny leaf, which is blink blah. So the whole thing is blink blah Wachabikkie. And that was one of the very first trees I learnt in Afrikaans. So I try and use it wherever I can because it's quite a difficult name and it took me a long time to learn it. But yeah, the buffalo thorn. And there's a lot of different stories as to why it's called a buffalo thorn. And one of them being because it has this protection. the buffaloes or back into it, so that they have the protection at the back from any lions, and they can protect themselves from the front with the horns if there's any lions that are coming around to attack them. But obviously not a tree that you want to go driving over the top of. Hello, babblers. Guess what I found? I got an animal. Yay! Oh, we got two. I was going to say, it's unusual for this animal to be on its own. 3, 4. Oh, the rest of the herd are here as well. Been wondering where you guys have been. We stand back here and then I'll see if we can get a little bit closer to the blue wildebeest, or brindle gnu as its other name is. And this is the wildebeest that you'll find typically in the savannah, which is where we are. They're slightly smaller cousins. Oh, one or two holding up the line there, going to the toilet. Okay, let me just see if I can pull forward a little bit past this tree. When we've got the heads down, we're going to allow us to get a little bit closer without freaking out. There we go. Good afternoon. So yeah, the smaller cousins are usually found in the grassland areas, and it's a shame the sun's not shining, but you might see where they get the name the blue wildebeest from. You might be able to see that slaty blue, and they're actually, to me, they are actually quite a pretty antelope. They are actually an antelope. A lot of people mistake them for other things, but they are an antelope. Here we go. Got all of them coming out now. Now you're supposed to be able to tell the males and females apart by looking at the faces, and as the females are crossing... Oh look, it's your mum! Good to know you're okay, lady. If you have a look at the heads, you're supposed to be able to see a brown patch just above the eyes, which you can actually see on Brian's mum. But some of the other females crossing actually were still quite dark. So it's not a foolproof method of telling male and female apart. One of the other ways is the length of the horns. The females, the horns are supposed to end at the length of their ears, and actually if you have a look at the female that's scratching herself, you can see her horns are pretty much ear length, whereas the bulls are supposed to go... they're supposed to grow beyond the length of the horns. And antelope that do have, or both sexes have the horns, females, their horns tend to be thinner and usually longer. If you've got things like the sable or Klemsbock, even rhinos, they've got a long horn as well. The females tend to be long and pointed because they don't tend to use it for fighting. But for the males, it needs to be robust, so it tends to be a lot thicker and shorter in, or compared to the females, that is now. So we've got the bull just to the left. Oh yeah, we've got him on screen now actually. So if he puts his head up, you might see he's very, very black between the horns, and his horns do go beyond his ears. And you might have noticed slightly thicker at the base of those horns. Fighting. So why on earth do females have horns then? Because we've got some antelope that do and some antelope that don't. And the wildebeest are more commonly found out on the open plains of the savannah. So they don't really need to have the protection. I was wondering where all the babies are. Here they come. Come on, babies. We've just been in the bush. So yeah, they don't have a problem with being heard as much. They have a problem of being seen, so they're going to they're going to be seen no matter what. So hi Lisa, I'll get to your question just now. I'll just finish off what I was saying while the babies are coming through. But yeah, so their tracks don't register like the kudu do, but they don't really have the protection of the bush either. So as I say, they don't need to reduce the sound they make. So you might hear the babies coming through here, they are making a bit of a sound. So they need some form of protection while they're out on the open plains. So the theory is that the females also have horns in the species that will use the open plains as well, and it does make sense to me. And you can see how they first start growing. You can see all these babies have got the horns sticking straight up, and as they get older they'll then go out to the side. And the mothers will also hide the babies for the first few days. I think it's up to about 2 weeks they'll hide them, and that's why they're this brown colour, to try and blend in with the environment. And then as they get older, you can see that baby is probably just about a month old. You can see the horns, maybe a little bit older, maybe about 5 weeks. But you can see the others they've already turned that, oh, excuse me, they've already turned that slaty blue colour. And you can see the horns are slightly longer as well, so you can see the size difference. You see how rapidly they grow, but they have to, so they can be strong to try and get away from predators as quickly as possible. So that baby to the right is probably coming closer to 2 months now. So good afternoon to you, Lisa. Welcome on board this afternoon. And Lisa wants to know, is it typical that they stay in an area? And especially this time of year, they won't go too far because there is plenty of food around. But as you get into winter, they do have to move from place to place, and they won't stick around one area as much as what they are at the moment. But because there's quite a lot of food around, it is normal for them to be found in a similar area. So they have been hanging around Gowrie Dam quite a bit, and the quarantine. Oh, it was very nice to catch up with them. Now, our wildebeest don't migrate. Obviously, up in Kenya, Tanzania, they go on the Great Migration. But you will find here, some of the males might actually hold on to a territory all year round. Am I going to be okay to move past you, lady? Oops. Oh, baby's wanting to get a drink. So yeah, so males will hold on to a territory and the females will pass through, and the males may hold on to a territory all year round. But here, I think with them having a lot of predators, Again, just like the impala, they might not have that territory all year round here, but certainly where there's no predators, or very little in the way of predators, on the reserve that I work at, we don't have any of the lions and the spotted hyenas, so our wildebeest hold territory all year round. But those that go on the migration, they can't afford to. The females go, so if the males stick around, they're not going to have any breeding opportunities. So they will go with the migration as well. And welcome on board to you this afternoon, Ellen. And Ellen would like to know how soon can Brian's mum have a baby. Now, for those of you who are kind of a bit confused at why we keep calling a wildebeest Brian's mum, actually Brian should maybe tell the story. You're going all camera shy.
Nah.
I think obviously she's got a very distinctive horn, so at least we get to see her. But I think Brian was saying he actually filmed this wildebeest giving birth. And how soon after it gave birth did it run into some trouble?
A while. Fair amount of time, I think.
Yeah, so quite a while, but because she's so distinctive, unfortunately, when it did run into trouble, and who was it? Was it a lion?
Mm.
Yeah, so unfortunately it came across a lion and it didn't end very well. And I think you were on board that day as well, weren't you? Yeah, so he filmed the birth, and unfortunately the death of the little one, and the mother, with her being so distinctive, we've been seeing her every so often on drive, so I think it became Brian's mum. But how soon can she actually give birth, or can she have a youngster again? And they do have a yearly breeding season, and the gestation period, if memory serves me correctly, is about 9 months. So they should be gearing up to mating, to be mating very soon. So that male will be holding on to a territory now, and that's why I think the females are with him, and they will move from male territory to male territory, and they will spend time with that male if they're wanting to mate with him. Oh, nice that we managed to catch up with them. I've been wondering where they have been for the last couple of days. That's obviously why. They're this side. Oh, good seeing you. Hi Kathy, welcome on board this afternoon. You see it nicely through there. It's hiding. It looks to me like a buzzard of some description. He's just flown off. I was going to try and see if I can get a better view of him. Sorry, I just turned you down rather than up. Can you just repeat that, please? Ah! Thanks, Dave. Okay, I got that one wrong then. Apparently carbon monoxide is lighter than carbon dioxide. I always thought it was the other way around. Well, I had that impression. Thanks, Dave. So maybe it was the carbon dioxide that was building up. Quite possibly. Thanks for that, Dave. And Pat. Welcome on board, Pat. Good afternoon to you. Pat wants to know, do they have the multiple stomachs like their American cousins, the wildebeest she's talking about now? And yes, they do. They are a four-chambered stomach animal. They are ruminants, as are all the antelope here in South Africa. So they do have the four chambers, and they do chew the cud just like their American cousins. Okay, it is cooling off now, so we'll take a quick drive down to Treehouse and then we'll go back up again. Thanks, Tina. Apparently the last calf that was born to that herd was born January the 3rd. So yeah, so I think that was that little brown one. As I say, it was probably about a month old, 5 weeks old, so that'll be about right then for that little brown one. And the others, as I say, that's just that little bit older, maybe coming up for about 2 months old. And the reason why they actually have the young all together is to try and overload the carnivores, because the carnivores can't possibly eat every single baby. Whereas if they drop them at different intervals, then there is a potential that the carnivores could take down each baby, because remember, the babies are very vulnerable when they're small. But that's why they have them all at the same time, to try and avoid the predators eating all of them. Hopefully at least a few of them might survive. Hi Betty, welcome on board this afternoon. Betty would like to know, why do some animals bob their heads, like you saw the wildebeest doing that? I know, it looks a bit funny, doesn't it? But it's thought that they have flies, the bot flies up in their nose. And the bot flies, they can do some damage. They eat the mucus, and they bury themselves in the skin, and it's thought they can actually start making their way up towards the brain as well. And it's thought that they actually bob their heads to try and dislodge them, you know, sort of do this and this. But what's also quite interesting, I know the blesbok do it quite a bit, and it's thought that not all the antelope or all the blesbok actually have these bot flies. It's thought that there is a potential that some of them are actually copying the behaviour, especially if it's the youngsters copying the mothers. And it could just be that some of them are doing it just to copy what the mother is actually doing. Now, apparently elephants can have up to 20 bot flies in its trunk, and they can be a good 1.5 to 2 centimetres long, which has got to be uncomfortable. Hello, buffalo! Is there anything going on down this side? It looks fairly quiet, apart from you two. Thanks, Tina. Tina was saying that it was about 50 days old, that wildebeest of Brian's mum, when it unfortunately met with a lion. I wonder if this could be our buffalo we saw this morning. Hi, Susie. Good afternoon to you. I'm just seeing if there's any movement on the opposite side of the bank, just to the left of the buffalo. Susie would like to know if the animals and birds are different where I study the leopards, about 3 hours drive from here in Lindenberg. Some of them are. We do have savanna, but it's a very different savanna. It's a mountainous savanna. So I don't have, this is known as the low veld, and as you go towards where I do my research, you go into the mountains, and you go into what the area is known as the high veld. So we do have some trees that are similar, like the red bush willow that you saw earlier, and I do have some acacias as well, like the umbrella thorn. I might see if I can try and point that out to you if we see it today. The buffalo thorn we have, and some of the birds we also get, but some of the birds do differ as well. That's why a lot of the guides will move from place to place, so they experience different animals and habitats and birds, and it keeps it fresh for the guide. So it is very normal to have a lot of movement around to experience all that. So it's been nice coming back and seeing some of the birds that I haven't seen in a long time, and as I say, some of the calls are recognised and I just can't quite place them because it's been 3 years since I've been back in the sands. I'll leave these two old men to their own devices. I think it is getting a little bit cooler. It might be worth us just stopping by the potentially new hyena den. Sandra from Pennsylvania, welcome on board this afternoon. And Sandra wanted to know, is there a potential that a lion could come out and jump on those buffalo? There's always a potential. This is the wild, anything goes. That's why it's always nice just to pause and just have a quick look around, see what is going on. And maybe we can just have a quick look at the sun. It's almost like we're going to get a double sunset this afternoon. That is beautiful. Some of you might be watching and it's the afternoon, late afternoon on a Sunday. Maybe you're having your sundowner. Be about the right time. But as I say, the lions are also very wary when it comes to the old Duggar boys, because they can be quite cantankerous and they do put up a very good fight. That's why you don't hear of them going for the Duggar boys as much as you do buffalo from the main herd. Yeah, but you do see some of the old boys with war wounds on them. It just goes to show, as I say, they're not that easy to take down. Oh, beautiful. Welcome to Africa, everybody. And actually, just before we move off, I wonder if you could maybe just have a quick look at this marula tree here. It's got a lot of mud wrapped around the trunk of the tree. And we've seen where the two boys are sitting, there's a lot of mud there. Wallowing in the mud just helps to keep the bodies cool and helps to keep it in good condition as well. It acts like a moisturiser, and it also protects them from the sun. But you should be able to see this is a marula tree, and you can see the difference. There's the bark it almost looks like someone's been hitting the tree with a golf ball, and it looks like bits are falling off because of the golf ball hitting it. And then you can see it's all nice and smooth there in your shot now, and that's because an elephant has been rubbing himself. So it's obviously had a nice mud bath, and that mud can then stick to its skin, and any parasites will actually get stuck in the mud as well, and then they can come along and wipe it off on the tree. And even warthogs will do it, buffalo will do it. And this will potentially get smoother and smoother and smoother as the animals keep using it. So this is probably quite a favourite tree, and it's very close by to the dam as well. Just about the right height. Elephant scratching post. Let's take a swing by, and then I think we'll do that loop again because it has got a bit cooler. I say I want to put us in an area where we could potentially see this cat, and animals may start coming out the woodworks as well as it gets cooler. Have a check around Gary Dam. So just checking on any of the termite mounds that we go by, just to make sure there's no holes there. Okay, so it sounds like the signal's settling down again, which is good. Got some more kudu heading that way, but we're heading this way. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so we just turned off Weaver's Nest Road. Just taking this little 2-track to where the den is. I'm very keen to see if Mum brought Ullantambella here. So we'll just have to keep a look on it in the next couple of days. It definitely looked like it was used by somebody, but as yet we're not sure who. But I'm really hoping it'll be our little hyena cub.